Today's subject is something I've been saying for years. It's a topic I've been talking about for many years. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll know I've made the statement many, many times. And I've been meaning to do a video to extrapolate on it some more. And I want to point out that I've been saying it for so long because as I was writing up all my points for this episode, I noticed on Reddit someone had done a thread which quoted almost verbatim the statement I've made for many years. And I just want to say that I didn't get the idea from you, mate, because I know sometimes Reddit likes to say that I take all my ideas from them and take credit for my episode ideas. So that's not the case. Everybody knows I steal my content from NeoGAF, okay? Warner Brothers recently made headlines by unveiling a shameless online pass for Batman Arkham Knight. Yes, season passes are still a thing, and they're still fucking stupid, and not something I'd ever advise customers to buy into. Unless it's Hyrule Warriors, that one's pretty good. Anyway, this pass is particularly egregious, being that it costs $40 fucking and promises content that sure as heck sounds like it should be part of the actual game. We're talking actual story-based campaign missions, new villain appearances, challenge maps, Batgirl as a character, as well as Batmobile skins and racetracks. Given the Arkham series' lackluster DLC offerings in the past, it's especially pathetic that WB expects more than half the price of the actual game again for 6 months worth of promises. 6 months of content that's been secured away months before the actual fucking game's even out. As shockingly poor as this season pass is, however, it's just one in a long line of shitty things Warner Brothers has done as a game publisher. I've said for years that for all the shit we give Electronic Arts and Ubisoft, quite rightly, Warner Brothers is easily up there with them and deserves all the scrutiny and criticism we usually reserve for the infamous big two companies. I've been meaning to do this one for a while, and the season pass is as good a time as any to crack it open, so let's look at Warner Brothers' lesser critiqued history of being just as bad as any EA or UB. First of all, Warner Brothers was balls deep in the concept of the online pass, even though EA is most famous for its use of the pass, a code that, if you've forgotten, was needed last generation to access the online portion of games in a desperate bid to curb used game sales. WB loved the pass, so much so it didn't even care if they fucking worked properly. Fear 3, for example, failed to offer a working online pass for used buyers on PS3. A number of game modes were simply unplayable. It was eventually fixed, but it was one of the perfect examples of its time of what an ill-thought-out system the online pass was. Of course, the infamous Catwoman pass was the better known of Warner's online pass shenanigans. Not having an online multiplayer mode, Arkham City opted instead to carve out an entire chunk of the game's campaign and sequester it safely behind a gate, holding all of Catwoman's missions to ransom and demanding people buy the game new. It was fucking ridiculous, and a pointless move anyway, since GameStop just started handing the code out to anybody and perfectly encapsulated how desperate and misguided publishers were in their bid to fight the used game industry. Dubs Beebs eventually gave up the failed online pass scheme like everyone else, but not before giving EA a run for its money and abusing it. As far as feeding into pre-order culture, shit, Dubso Beebso may actually be the worst publisher of them all. Lately, the Arkham games announced pre-order bonuses at the same fucking time as they announced the games themselves. The first promotion for Arkham Origins gave pride of place to adverts for pre-order DLC, including a playable Deathstroke, because that sort of shit seems more important to Warner than actually letting us know why the game itself is worth buying in the first place. The way Warner sells its games, you'd think the pre-order DLC was the product, and the game was just some annoying distraction we have to buy in order to get it. Arkham Knight's the same way. Pre-order DLC involving a playable Harley Quinn was wrapped up into the very first trailer, and can I just say, what a bad fucking impression that gives. Like, we're trying to get hyped for your fucking game, supposedly, and you're more concerned with telling us what we won't get if we don't partake in the one-way street that is us shelling out money to make Warner Brothers look good to GameStop. Oh No Not the Bees pushes pre-orders harder than anyone. Where most publishers just throw in some extra skins or a new weapon, the Arkham games in particular have a whole playable mode and character gated off, and it's hard not to look at it as carving the game up to sell us in bases. I mean, this is the same company that made us pre-order Mortal Kombat X in order to get fucking Goro, and squirreled away a bunch of extra missions, some console exclusive, as bonuses for reserving Shadow of Mordor. Speaking of Mortal Kombat X, well, that served as a beautiful case study of Warner's DLC-hungry ways, didn't it? As well as reserving characters like Jason and the Predator as downloadable characters, announced before release of course, it included microtransactions for the $60 game, initiating a scheme I've called fee to pay in the past. Even better, the microtransactions were used for shit like easy fatalities, an exhaustible resource that let you use fatalities without putting in the intricate codes. Pretty much every game Warner Bieber publishes is more like an excuse to sell more content than a game, even if the game itself is pretty good. Nowhere was that more evident than Arkham Origins, a game that was released in a buggy, broken state with all manner of shocking glitches as it was rushed out the gate to desperately try and give WB an annualized series matching Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed. Origins' plethora of technical fuck-ups was never fixed because, in a shocking display of arrogance, Warner Brothers shamelessly revealed their devs were too busy working on downloadable content to actually patch the game for which the DLC was being sold. Yep, that's right, they were too committed to making more content to sellers than actually repair the broken shite they already sold. Classy. Classy fucking stuff. What can we expect though? This is the company that was content IDing YouTube videos of Shadow of Mordor even while other YouTubers were doing paid sponsored videos of the fucking game. This is the company that refused to listen to the actual copyright holders of Nyan Cat and Keyboard Cat when the intellectual property was used without permission for Scribblenauts, all while Warner Brothers' own film division was gleefully and arrogantly admitting that it had been knowingly filing false DMC takedown claims against property it didn't even own and didn't care because it felt the automated systems let it off the hook. This is the company that perhaps more than any other sells games as sliced up Lego blocks as opposed to real packages. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, Arkham Origins was fucking shit. I was right about that when it first came out and everyone hated me for saying it, and I'm right months later when the internet finally, as the internet always does, came around to my way of fucking thinking. Quite why Warner Brothers flies under the radar where EA and Ubisoft don't, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it's just because they don't quite occupy a dedicated publisher space. I mean, we think Warner Brothers, we also think of you know, Looney Tunes and DC and all of the movies and whatnot, so it's hard to really see them as a dedicated publisher, even though they do a lot of the same bad things as a lot of the big AAA ones do. Or maybe it's just that EA is just better at getting headlines, I don't know, but whatever the reason, I do feel it's worth just having a look at them and not being surprised in future and when we know Warner Brothers is publishing something, because they do publish really good games a lot of the time. The Arkham games are fantastic. I think Arkham Knight's probably going to be really good. Rocksteady's a fucking rocksteady developer, haha. And you know, like EA, they do really good games, and I think that's why we care so much about it when the publishers stick their oar in and fiddle about with it. You know, we care about the games they're making, and that's why we're so critical. That's why I'm so critical of Konami. If I didn't give a shit about any of their games, I'd probably give a less of a shit about the actual quality of their conduct. So that's something I want to point out. So yeah, that's the point I'm making. I also find it funny that they announced the details for the season pass for Arkham Knight sort of Saturday night when a whole load of sporting events and other events were going on, as if they could just slip it past us and we wouldn't really notice or get up in arms. Didn't quite work, because season passes are shit. But you know who isn't shit? Me! I'm kind of the opposite of shit. What would that be? Food, I guess. And I like food in my belly, which is why I'm fat. So thank God for me. And a turkey leg in my belly. Oh. Oh. Wish I had a turkey leg.